They don't want you to see it because they're cowards. As I said before you, it is August 2024, the middle of the Summer Olympics. So what better time to discuss the incredibly timely and important international issue of rebooting the Bachelor Winter Games. Just kidding, I'm not going to wear this. Travel with me back in time to February 2018, the Winter Olympics. I was in a pretty hardcore Bachelor phase at that era. I did do a blog series where I compared Bachelor in Paradise to Aristotelian tragedy because I'm a caricature of myself. In retrospect, I feel like it was kind of a golden age of Bachelor content, personalities. I started around like JoJo Bachelorette, Rachel, Nick Viall, Colton, Art, like iconic stuff was happening. And so I would argue that the most iconic thing that happened was the Bachelor Winter Games. Initially, I wanted to do a proper recap of the Bachelor Winter Games, but it's not airing. It's not streaming anywhere. I downloaded a VPN so I could try to watch in a different country and it didn't work because it's not anywhere. I'm actually like really bummed about it. They don't want you to see it, but I want you to see it. And I specifically want ABC to stop being cowards and reboot the show. I've been re-immersing myself in Bachelor World. I watched the most recent episode with Jen. I found a podcast that did some really great recaps of Winter Games. 2 Black Girls, 1 Rose. They're great. So thank you for your service to archaeology. I also read Ali Barthwell's Vulture Recaps of Winter Games. Oh, and I've been listening to some Game of Roses to kind of get back into the vibe and like remember who I was, astral project back to who I was when I was really invested in The Bachelor. I have been doing my forensics. I'll like post links to the Bachelorologists that I have enjoyed. All of this is to say that I believe that Bachelor Winter Games was in many ways the most Bachelor of all. And I think that as a society, we're ready. And in fact, it is imperative that we receive Bachelor Winter Games again. So instead of a recap, because I was not able to watch it, and also I think it would take a long time, instead I'm going to explain to you why we need the Bachelor Winter Games again, and also forevermore. But what is the Bachelor Winter Games? This is an excellent question. The Bachelor Winter Games is described as an ode to the Winter Olympic Games. It aired on ABC in winter 2018 against NBC's actual airing of the actual Olympics. I can't tell if they wanted to make people watch The Bachelor instead of the Olympics or if it was intended as a supplemental experience, but either way, it was incredibly important. And it brings together your favorite Bachelor contestants from around the world to compete in winter sports for the title of, I think it's like Top Winter Games Couple or Bachelor Winter Games Couple or something. All the Bachelor contestants live in a ski lodge. So it's basically like Bachelor in Paradise, but in the wintertime and on steroids. Literally, because sports, but also because the chaotic energy is dialed up to 11. It's truly magical. Most of these people are not good at winter sports, and I think that's great. Some examples of dynamics on the show. Like Paradise, there is a rose-giving, couple-making element, but I believe the first episode, people got to vote each other off if they weren't there for the right reasons. I myself am trying to wrap my head around what the right reasons to be on the Bachelor Winter Games could possibly be. Like, are the right reasons to be good at winter sports, or are the right reasons to fall in love, or is it both? Who could ever say? And isn't that one of life's great mysteries? And that's part of its unhinged charm. They're doing the sports in competition for date cards, and then they get to go on dates. Although they all live in the same house anyway, they're not being kept separate. But I don't know, date cards are still special. Everybody wants a date card. I think another really important aspect about the Bachelor Winter Games is that it is winter. Because you may be asking yourself, why not just do Bachelor Olympics, summer games? And the answer is because people already know how to play summer games, but they don't know how to play games on ice. And it is fun to watch your favorite Bachelor contestants slip and slide and fall on their little booties and wear sparkly little ice skating outfits. There are a lot of Canadian and Scandinavian characters who tended to perform well, also people from like Colorado. But I think that the show did a good job of remedying this by introducing nonsense rules, such as the speed skating challenge where the worst people advanced to the next round. I would say the nonsense rules are another very important part of it. so that it's not just like, look at this person who actually knows how to ski, and instead is more like, how much commitment did you put into your skiing or whatever. The final challenge on the Bachelor Winter Games was a couples ice dancing challenge, and chemistry was one of the criteria. Also, they got real actual sports icons to participate. Nancy actual Kerrigan came on to like coach and judge the ice dancing competition. And I love this for us. These poor sports people, these literal Olympic athletes showing up to like explain to Ashley I how to not fall over is stunning. The cast of Winter Games was also gorgeous. So many iconic Bachelor people that I'm still thinking about to this day. I stopped really watching not too far after the games, but there are truly iconic characters. We've got Bachelor himself, Ben Higgins, actual Bachelorette Claire Crawley experiencing an iconic love triangle. We've got Ashley I, we've got Kevin Wendt of Kevin and Astrid from Paradise. I believe this was Kevin's US debut before he went on to Paradise. We have Bibby from, I think, Nick Vile's season. Deanie Babies Dean. Luke Pell, villain of the century from JoJo's season. Leslie Murphy, who was dating Dean on this, who had previously had a double mastectomy. And it's like amazing that she was going out, like running around and skiing and stuff after that. Like, what a star. It's so powerful, this show. It cannot be overstated. Nick and JoJo and Rachel also come in and judge a kissing competition, super important winter sport. And then also delightful international characters such as Benoit from Quebec, who is so French Canadian you could just explode. Former New Zealand Bachelor Jordan, who flipped a coin between the last two girls on his season. Wild. Christian, who competed on The Bachelor Germany and Switzerland. I think he won Switzerland. And then in this season, his main thing is getting upset with Claire Crawley about missing a jacuzzi appointment. You couldn't write something better than this. You really couldn't. There's Courtney and Lily, who are from Australia and New Zealand, I believe, and they're so cute. Stassi from Sweden, who is also, I think she's Sweden and Belarusian, and her accent is amazing. And Yuki from Japan, who is truly adorable. She did not speak very much English, and I think the show was kind of weird in how they handled her, but I was delighted by her, and I feel like if there were a really good translator, she could have had an even better showing on the show. And again, everybody's slipping and sliding. There's hijinks. It is a slapstick comedy, even as people are also kind of trying to fall in love. Generally, I think The Bachelor is campy in its own way, kind of heterosexual camp, so deeply normie that it kind of like horseshoes back around into becoming camp. It has its own language and it's this super exaggerated version of what love and romance is supposed to be. This show feels campy, more in the flavor of The Traitors, another show where your Bachelor besties have performed quite well. And again, international groups of people bopping around doing silly little activities in a big old house. I think we as a society are ready for silly reality TV people to do little activities, especially if those activities are largely about them slipping and falling. And the thing is that actual couples came out of this. Admittedly, none of them lasted, but we got an engagement from Winter Games because Claire was in her love triangle with Benoit and Christian from Germany. Benoit was like, I only want you, and she couldn't commit, so he left. And then she and Christian just couldn't connect. And so post-show, apparently Benoit slid into her DMs and they started talking again. And on the after the final rose, he proposed to her, which is incredible. It did not work, but it was great TV. Ashley I and Kevin won the show and left together in a relationship. Incredible. Lily and Courtney left the show in a relationship and like road tripped across the US. They were adorable. And even though none of these couples lasted, they were actually very cute. And I do think that's like something that when I compare Paradise and the main Bachelor franchise, I think something that is really strong about Paradise is that these people actually do have options and are able to explore what they want and are not stuck only paying attention to the lead. So there have been many Bachelor in Paradise couples that really did go the distance, probably a better track record than the main show. Maybe I'll look up those numbers. I think that having a competition element is fun for the show, lest you end up with something like Paradise, which, I mean, again, I have quite enjoyed Paradise in my day, but can feel very monotonous because they are basically only hanging out on the beach and talking and going on dates. So I think, again, another strength of Winter Games was having specific activities for them to do. On the main show, the group dates feel goofy, but I think in a group show like this, it actually makes sense for everybody to go out and do activities and kind of make fools of themselves in a way that it really doesn't on the main show. Yeah. Another argument in favor of rebooting the Bachelor Winter Games is that it is an awesome opportunity for cross promotion within the franchise. I really enjoyed seeing people I had enjoyed come back in a completely different setting. I was even more invested in certain people on Paradise the following season because I'd seen them on the Winter Games. And then, of course, there's the international element. Maybe you'll get more eyes on your international shows. It is also, in its way, an opportunity to promote sports to people who don't really care about sports, like me. I'm probably not gonna start watching sports because of Bachelor Winter Games, but you know, somebody might, I guess. And the last thing that I think is so excellent about Winter Games is that it's an opportunity for people to come together and heal the world. It is very similar to the real life Olympics like that. The world is very big and complicated, and for people to come together and meet each other and understand each other's cultures is very beautiful. I really, really enjoyed seeing clips from the international competitors, getting to know more about how love and romance play out in these different countries was really fun for me. I would have minded if there was even more of that in the show, to be honest. But maybe rebooting the Bachelor Winter Games will bring about world peace, you know? A step in the right direction. So here's my pitch for a reboot of Winter Games. Beat inspiration from my friends and also from Game of Roses' pitch for the Paradise reboot, since we're not getting a Paradise this year and they're regrouping. So I think some important things to do are, it's still wintertime. There are still lots of activities. I think the winter sports themselves are pretty great. Just make sure that they're safe, low stakes, no contact. There were, I think, a handful of minor injuries on the original Winter Games, but nothing big or life-changing or earth-shattering. So I do think they should try to keep the games relatively low stakes, maybe more silly winter activities, like making gingerbread houses or something. I don't know. What do people do in the winter time? Acting out Hallmark movies or like non-denominational winter activities, I think could be really cute and fun just to mix things up and give people who are not super athletic an opportunity to show up and be their best selves. And I think bringing back actual sports celebrities to commentate rules and makes it even funnier. Maybe if it's not just The Bachelor, but other franchises, if they do like a gingerbread house thing, maybe you could have someone from a food show come on, or a building house decorating show. I don't know. But I just think there's so much opportunity for a fun and silly and lighthearted and festive wintry time in the Bachelor universe. Try to get a really diverse cast. Something I learned from Two Black Girls, One Rose, don't quote me, is that because it was 2018, US immigration laws were changing really, really rapidly. And so while they initially wanted to have more contestants, because The Bachelor airs in, I want to say, 37 countries, they wanted to have more people, but it was really, really difficult for people from certain countries to get visas, which is why it leans very Euro. I would love to see even more of the international competitors on their home seasons, and like really well fleshed out intro packages for them, because we know so much about the US characters and have built up so much parasocial energy behind them that it can sometimes feel tough to connect with the internationals, although I think they did a pretty good job of this on season 1. But even more facilitated discussion about what their shows were like in their other countries or how they feel things are different is just kind of informative, and it would be interesting to me as a scholar of The Bachelor. I also think the language barrier is a concern, just challenging to really give someone a fair shot at finding love or even really expressing themselves, endearing themselves to the audience if they are not able to share a common language with their fellow castmates. But I still think if they really wanted to, they could do it. Get a translator in for people who are not native English speakers in order to facilitate more communication. There's something else. Oh my God. What if Bachelor Winter Games entirely in Esperanto? Just kidding. That would be too powerful. The pairing up in the eliminations, I didn't mind, but I did think that the Game of Roses people made a compelling argument to just not worry about elimination, just have a set number of people and be like, these are your people. And if they pair up, cool. I could go either way in terms of elimination or just keeping people on because it's just a fun and silly time and fun to see what happens. Something that my friends mentioned that I do think would be really delightful, I imagine this being kind of a super special, once in a blue moon sort of thing, and I think Game of Roses talked about this too, was having not just singles on, bring back former competitors, even if they're still engaged or whatever, which, you know, does that mean anything? But I digress. Bring back former competitors and treat it like a global celebration of the Bachelor franchise rather than forcing couples. I think some people would be happy to come back and hang out depending on how long the shoot was. And then, I don't know, maybe there are eliminations, maybe there aren't. Obviously, if you had existing couples, they would probably keep each other on the show. But there's probably a way to make that kind of fun and silly and interesting. Taking the original Winter Games framework and building it out into something that is really a celebration of the brand and something that makes people really excited about these personalities and excited to continue engaging with the Bachelor world would be really fun. And bonus points if I get to see people fall, because I enjoy physical comedy. So that's my pitch for the Bachelor Winter Games. What do you think? Would you watch Bachelor Winter Games reboot? Have you seen the Bachelor Winter Games? If you haven't, girl, I don't know. There's some clips online and there's some recaps and stuff, but it's like very difficult to track down. I was deep in those Google search results trying to find it. If you know where to watch it, let me know. If you're from a different country and it's on in your country, let me know. Yeah, if you are interested in more Bachelor yapping, I wouldn't mind it. It's a lot of TV for me, which is kind of why I didn't get into Love Island. I was like, this is entirely too much, but it is fun and silly and I like romance. I did have fun watching the most recent Bachelor episode with my buddies the other day. Maybe I'm just a little bit out of practice, but I did feel like the Jen Tran cast, men seem very genuine, which is sweet. It is a fascinating franchise and it has been fun to revisit it. There's just something about that 2016 to 18 Bachelor that hits different. So it's been fun to revisit. Really, I think The Bachelor is extremely dystopian. Like, if it weren't currently happening already, we would read a YA dystopian novel about it and be like, this is ridiculous. But because it started airing in like 2000 before we had YA dystopian novels, everybody's like, I guess this is real life. We'll see how this video does. If you like it, let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. It would be really cute if I could get enough subscribers to start making a little bit of money off of this channel. I like making videos for you, but I would like it even more if I could make a pittance out of it instead of a negative pittance. I put out new videos weekly. I might be taking a break in the coming weeks because I'm independently producing a TV pilot that I wrote. So I will be locking in for that and I may not have time to yap, but I appreciate you very much. And I thank you for hanging out with me today and talking about a show from 6 years ago that I feel like I'm the only person who remembers. Okay, bye.